difficult is it going to be to do all of this, Donald? I mean, you're saying it's the first of many things. You've got immigration reform. You've got Obamacare you're going to repeal. You say you're going to roll back Dodd-Frank. I mean, have you thought about the timing in terms of priorities in your first year in office?
Well, things can be done quickly. You have great people. You get great people. I know great people. Many of those people are on your shows, to be honest with you. But these are people that make a lot of money and all, but when they give the opportunity to serve the country, every single one of them, like when I called Carl Icahn, I said, Carl, if I had you involved in the negotiations with China, would you do it? Oh, I'd love it. He would love to do it. As rich and as busy as some of these people are, they would love to do it. Not money. That it's not a question of money. They get nothing for this.
There's a real movement in terms of short-termism versus long-termism, and Carl Icahn is part of that on the short-termism. I wonder what you have to say about that and this article in the Journal today that basically says let's do away with quarterly earnings. Are we too short-term thinking when it comes to money? And what about the private equity part of business, which basically is being criticized for, activist investing and short-term thinking?
Well, I think the short-term is terrible, and I think it is hurting the company. The nice part about like a company like mine, I'm a private company. I can do whatever I want. I can paint a ceiling and say, what's my return on investment? I don't think about it. Whereas they don't want to do that. Just to use as an example, they don't want to spend 10 cents on doing anything because they're so worried about the quarter. So, look, I think you're not going to change the system. The system is the system. They want quarterly reports. I mean, they want daily reports. Frankly, if they could get daily reports, they'd be happy with it. But ultimately, in many cases, it's not a great thing for a company.
Who do you admire in foreign policy, in the military, and in business that you'd like to emulate some of those policies? Putting Carl Icahn aside, I know you're a big fan and highly complimentary.
Well, I mean, it's such a big question because you're talking about many, many names, and I'll leave out so many and they'll all be insulted. But, when you look at business, a guy like Jack Welch, I've always been a fan of Jack. I've always liked Jack. I actually did deals with Jack when he was at General Electric. And, somebody like Jack Welch was certainly a great example. And there are so many of them. I've met so many corporate leaders over the years, over the last 4 or 5 years in particular, and so many that are so good. And people like, as an example, Larry Fink. I invest money. I put money with different people. And Larry Fink, and he's done a great job. He's done a great job for me. And, with the money that I've given them to invest. And others. There are so many people that I have great respect for. Unfortunately, there are far more people that don't do a very good job.
What would you do in terms of all of your wealth? I mean, in terms of avoiding any conflict, would you put it in a blind trust? How would you deal with that?
Well, I do whatever you're supposed to do. I guess I would put it in a trust or a blind trust. And Ivanka and my boys, and I have a lot of great executives. They'd run the company. The company is, you saw the numbers. I mean, the company is a great company. It's very liquid. We have very little debt. We have tremendous cash flow. And it's a great company. I tell them, don't do any deals. Just don't do anything. Just relax and run it properly. It's a big company, and I'd want them to run it properly.
So you wouldn't be interested in putting any family members in the administration?
No, I wouldn't do that. I think that would probably not happen. I think that, frankly, if I put Ivanka in some position, I think she'd do fantastically. You know her. She's she's a friend of yours, actually. She thinks the world of you. But if I put Ivanka in just about any position you name, she'd do a great job. But I don't think I'd do that, no.
Well, let me get your one-word sentences describing your opinions on each of these leaders. I'd love to get you to sort of respond to some your quick thoughts on somebody like an Angela Merkel, for example.
Fantastic leader. She's. I was with somebody the other day who thinks she's the greatest leader in the world today. She's the most. She's the smartest and the greatest leader in the world today. And this is a person that has great knowledge of her and deals with her.
David Cameron.
Good. Fought back a tremendous threat because that would have been, the whole Scotland situation. I think good. I deal with him a little bit. I think very good. I think he's becoming better with time, actually.
How about Vladimir Putin?
I actually think that he's somebody that can be dealt with. I think his dislike of President Obama is so intense that it really has affected the whole relationship. We've driven them into the arms of China so that now these two are together, which has always been the great sin. Don't ever let Russia and China get together. We've driven them together. I think he's somebody that I would have a very decent relationship with if I ever win.
How about Xi in China?
always smart. The Chinese leaders are, they have a different system than ours. They don't do it by television. They do it by a different route to get up there. Always smart, and certainly he's been very smart. I think what he did with the recent devaluations, which a lot of people said were market-driven, they're not market-driven. They did it to keep it going. But the leaders in China always turn out to be smart, and he's certainly one of them.
What would you do to deal with the devaluation of the currency there? I mean, what's the solution there?
Well, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to talk to them and say, folks, you can't do this, and you're going to have to tariff it, because if you don't, we're going to lose all our business. And that goes with Japan also, by the way. You're going to have to look what they're doing with the yen, and they brag about it. And it's almost like Obama, he's got so many other problems, or he's asleep at the wheel, and he's not doing anything, Maria. He's not doing anything about it. But look at what's happening with the yen. They're doing the same thing.